this is Warhawk Beyond 2040, and welcome to another edition of the Batman Caped Crusader Season 1 review series. And today I am going to be talking about Episode 3, Kiss of the Catwoman, which I have just finished watching. And this episode was actually really good. I really enjoyed this one a lot. I loved this episode mainly because this really felt like a callback to the early Catwoman appearances of the 1950s. I thought this show did a really good job in introducing us to Catwoman, and I loved how they adapted the iconic purple and green Catwoman suit into the show. And it isn't the first time we have seen the iconic purple and green Catwoman costume. The costume made its appearance back in Batman the Brave and the Bold, which looked phenomenal, but this is actually the first time that we have seen the iconic Catwoman costume adapted into the Bruce Timm art style, and the design for it looks incredible. It looks absolutely brilliant. It looks very crisp. Seeing the full purple costume with the green cape. It's classic comic book accuracy. It looks fantastic. I love it. Seeing Batman in his early costume, to me, it was just like seeing the early comic books come to life and adapted in animation. I just thought it looked incredible. And for those of you who probably are aware of this, Catwoman is voiced superbly by the lovely and talented Christina Ricci, who is best known as Wednesday Addams from the Addams Family movies. And she did a tremendous job voicing Catwoman slash Selena Kyle. Now, I did mention quite a while back that Selena Kyle, the design for her, at first I thought it kind of looked a little bit like Julie Madison, Bruce Wayne's first girlfriend. But I thought Selena Kyle looked really cool. She really looked like a real socialite, lots of wealth and plenty of money. And this whole episode really felt like a proper throwback to the 1950s, from the way everyone was dressed, from the way everyone looked, from the way everyone behaved, the little innuendos here and there. It was proper classy 50s style, and I liked it. Very classy. Very, very classy. So I'm going to give a quick recap of what's happened so far, and then after that, we're going to get straight into talking about Kiss of the Catwoman. So, as we saw previously in episode 2, we learned that Yvonne Francis had gone missing, and Yvonne Francis was a movie actress, and Bruce Wayne was interrogated by Detective Renee Montoya, who was questioning him as he was one of the last people to see her before she disappeared. And we learned later on that her co-star, Basil Carlo, had faked his own death and kidnapped Francis out of a desire to play a villain for real. So this led to Batman going after Carlo, who was now Clayface, who was ashamed of his face and pretty much became Clayface. So this was the first appearance of Clayface in the show. And Carlo is defeated, and Francis is rescued by Renee Montoya. And Renee Montoya has Batman bugged and pretty much declares to Batman that this is not over between them. So this episode pretty much established the relationship between Batman and Renee Montoya, and also gave us the first appearance of Clayface, who was pretty much adapted from the classic 1940s comic book. And that pretty much like set up for episode 3. So, with that all said, let's not waste any more time. Let's get straight into it. Let's talk about episode 3, Kiss of the Catwoman. So, episode 3 starts off with Bruce at the Gotham Museum, where he is looking at the Wayne collection until he's approached by a very attractive lady named Selina Kyle. And we see she starts to flirt with him and even encourages him to come out for a drink. But of course, Bruce respectfully declines, and instead he turns to someone nearby and punches the person's lights out when they speak very ill of his family. Very out of character for Bruce to do something like that, because usually Bruce would always keep his cool and he might make some little dig at someone who would badmouth his family. But so for him to actually openly punch someone's lights out in public is very un-Bruce Wayne like, but it's different. I like it. It's different. It's just not something I'm used to seeing from Bruce Wayne. Unfortunately, the physical altercation is captured by the press, and a felony assault is hanging over Bruce Wayne's head. Bruce has been instructed to do a few weeks of therapy, and he is referred to by a young psychiatrist named Dr. Harleen Quinzel. So, this is another first here. We are not only introduced to Selina Kyle in the show, but also Dr. Harleen Quinzel, who is voiced by the lovely and talented Jamie Chung. So we've got Christina Ricci in this episode, and we've got Jamie Chung, two of my favourite ladies in the same episode. Doesn't get any better than that. Now, Dr. Harleen Quinzel, for those of you out there who know the name already, we know that she becomes Harley Quinn, and we know she becomes Harley Quinn after she meets the Joker, who she was his doctor at Arkham Asylum. So everybody knows that origin story. So here we have Harleen Quinzel, who looks very different to what we know. Harleen Quinzel in this episode, she looks very oriental. She's got big glasses and she's quite the opposite to what we know as Harleen Quinzel. Now, the Harleen Quinzel I know and love before she went all bonkers and joined the circus, so to speak, was very laid back. She is kind of like that here in this episode, but she's a bit more bubbly. So for her to be referred as Bruce Wayne's doctor is an interesting take. So she's not in any way, shape, or form associated with the Joker. So she's never met the Joker. We have not seen the Joker here. So she is Bruce Wayne's doctor. So we see in this scene, she touches on Bruce's parents and presses the situation until he eventually zones out, thinking back to what happened the night that his parents were murdered in the alleyway. And this is quite interesting because Bruce Wayne, in most of the versions I've seen, whether it's in animation or in comic books, Bruce very rarely ever opens up to anybody, let alone a doctor. The only person he has ever opened up to in that manner, apart from Alfred, is Dr. Leslie Tompkins. But other than that, he doesn't really talk to anybody. So for him to actually sit with a doctor slash psychiatrist and going back to the night his life was changed forever is interesting because it's not something you rarely ever see in animation with Bruce Wayne. So I like that. I think it's different. We see later on Selina Kyle awakens mid afternoon and has neglected all her duties, including paying her bills and her disgruntled maid, Greta. We then see later on Selina Kyle gets dressed up in her Catwoman costume and begins stealing jewels and trinkets, intent on paying her way to paying her bills and her maid. It doesn't take long for Catwoman to cross paths with Batman, and Catwoman is soon arrested. We see Catwoman blames everything on Batman, and it seems to work. And we see Harvey Dent helps her out, and Barbara is not very happy about it. We see naturally Selina Kyle is right back at it again later that night, and Batman is back to thwart her once again. After a prolonged kiss and some banter, we see Catwoman takes off without being caught. We see Catwoman is on the run and leaves her big mansion alongside Greta and all of her cats. They end up in a rundown building, but Catwoman is not going to give up the hunt for long. We see Bruce Wayne is continuing his therapy sessions with his character called into question with the numerous one night stands he engages in. Around this time, we see some flashbacks of Bruce's past, but Batman remains more determined than ever to put Catwoman behind bars. He brings in a photographer named Bill O'Brien to snap pictures, but at a museum, we see Batman is not alone. Catwoman shows up with a big cat, which he quickly dispatches with sleeping gas, and as for Catwoman, Batman patches up her leg after she's shot by one of the dirty cops, including Bullock, and knocks them out. With all of this done, he visits O'Brien outside and he confirms there's enough evidence to incriminate Catwoman, but those pictures of Batman beating up cops are not too favourable, given that they could cast him as the enemy. Batman doesn't care and tells the photographer to run with it before heading back to the Batcave. While there, he speaks to Alfred, who admits that things are going to heat up now, but Batman refuses to indulge his questions about Dr. Quinzel and her therapy sessions. As for Selina Kyle, she loses everything, and we see the maid leaves after selling all of her items, and we see that she makes a nice profit out of it. And that wraps up my review of episode 3, Kiss of the Catwoman. This was actually a really good episode. This was a lot of fun. I loved the banter between Batman and Catwoman, which never gets old. I thought the show did a good job in introducing Dr. Harleen Quinzel, who we all know is going to become Harley Quinn at some point. And I thought the way this episode was executed was very well done. We see that Catwoman is addicted to stealing. As soon as she's caught and she's let go, she goes right back at it and continues to steal. So they've done a really good job in nailing Catwoman's addictive personality. So I thought they did a really good job. And Bruce Wayne having sessions with Dr. Quinzel was definitely something that wasn't on my bingo card. If you had said to me back in the BTS days, can you imagine Bruce Wayne going to see Dr. Quinzel for help? I would have been like, Bruce would never ever do that. Not in a million years. But I like how the show is shaking things up, trying out different things that have never been done before. So in terms of the direction with certain characters. Yeah, there are some that are a little bit bizarre, but for the most part, I like these different takes they're doing. Makes things interesting. I like the dynamic with certain characters. I think it's really cool. And the very fact that we had Christina Ricci voicing Catwoman and Jamie Chung voicing Dr. Harleen Quinzel, that's awesome. That is absolutely awesome. So, for my overall rating for Kiss of the Catwoman, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. This was a really good episode. I really enjoyed this one a lot. Episode 1, as I said, got off to a little bit of a shaky start, but episodes 2 and now 3, very good. Very, very good. Very strong, I might say. And it's got me looking forward to episode 4, which I think is going to be really good, I think. So that's going to be it from me. I'm going to wrap this up now. What was your thoughts on episode 3? Did you enjoy it? What did you think of the new take on Catwoman? Did you like it? Did you like that they adapted her classic purple costume into the show? And do you like the way Harleen Quinzel was introduced as Bruce Wayne's psychiatrist. Do you think that's an interesting take? And also, what did you think of Batman and Catwoman's dynamic in this episode? Do you think they did a good job in paying homage to the earlier incarnations of Batman and Catwoman? And did you like their banter as well? You know what to do, guys. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave your thoughts and comments down below. And I will see all of you next time for another edition of the Batman Caped Crusader Season 1 review series, where I am going to be talking about Episode 4, which I'm really looking forward to seeing, especially after the way this episode played out. Should be a lot of fun. So until next time, take care, everybody, and stay safe. And once again, as always, much appreciated. Thanks for listening.